Welcome to MTG Friends, I'm Ryan. Let's do it again. Let's do a Commander deck tech, and this time we're going to do Merfolk Tribal. And at the helm is the Commander Kumena, Tyrant of Orazca. It's a nice little Simic 3-drop in green-blue. 2/4 body, Merfolk Shaman. We're going to be levering the two parts of this mechanic that it's got. It's tap another untapped Merfolk you control. Kumena, Tyrant of Orazca can't be blocked this turn. Yeah, that's fine and dandy, whatever. But these last two is what really matters in this build. Tap 3 untapped Merfolks you control. Draw a card. I like it. That's great. But tap 5 untapped Merfolks you control. Put a 1/1 counter on each Merfolk you control. So we're going to be trying to go wide throughout your entire game by utilizing these +1/+1 counters, dropping lots of tribal Merfolk onto the playfield and have them stick, hopefully, and then keep the battlefield where we have control and we can stabilize it enough to start really levering those mechanics. All right, Saroni. Let's go ahead and talk about the builds, and then we'll jump into the different segments. All right. We have some control because we are in blue after all. We have protection, just a couple protection pieces. We have the +1/+1 counter shenanigans going on. Tribal cards that really support having some tribal synergies out there. A lot of these are very big staples in tribal. We'll go through those. We got draw. Land package, of course, the most versatile part of any build where we can swap in and out any budgetary concerns with high expense cards. Removal, and then, of course, we got the Merfolk shenanigans. Ooh, said shenanigans twice. And then we have our maybe board sideboard, which is all of those budgetary considerations, swaps, and other cards that either just didn't quite make the cut or might be cards that you go, oh, I'd rather swap this Merfolk out for that one. You know, it's not an end-all be-all for this build, but you should be well on your way with this particular build. All right, so we've already talked about the Commander. Let's go ahead and start in with control, because Architect is what is telling us is the first part of this. All right, Counterspell. I mean, yeah, we're going to do a little bit of control with this build because, we're going to be dumping creatures onto the playfield and trying to keep them there. Fierce Guardianship, another one, very nice staple in Counterspells. 3-drop, if you have your commander out, you can cast it out, costing it anything at all, and it's counter target non-creature spell. Force of Negation, another nice one that could theoretically cost you nothing to spend. If it's not your turn, you may exile a blue card from your hand rather than pay this spell's mana cost. Counter target non-creature spell. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead. I really like the fact that this exiles the card because then it doesn't end up in the graveyard play for your opponents. Mana Drain, old school, hardcore, awesome card. If you don't have Mana Drain, you don't have to go out and seek it out and pay for it. It's a spendy card. You could always just put in another kind of counter card that might cost you 2 or 3, just depending. Counter target spell at the beginning of your next main phase. Add an amount of colorless equal to the spell's converted mana cost. So it's just a double duty card that is just fantastic. That really helps you ramp up as well. Muddle the Mixture. Oh, I just love this card. It's so fun. It doesn't fit in every build, but hey, counter target instant or sorcery spell, and you can transmute it for 3, which is discard this card, search your library for a card with the same converted mana cost as this card. It's kind of like Cycle, but not exactly. Transmute is a pretty fun card. I believe it was out of Ravnica originally. Don't hold me to that if I'm wrong, but certainly put it in the comments if it was an earlier mechanic than that. But I'm pretty sure it was out of Rav. Swan Song. What's great about this one is it costs you just 1 pip in blue. Instant, counter, target, enchantment, instant, or sorcery spell. Its controller creates a 2/2 blue bird. And we don't care about that bird because we are starting with 40 life because this is, after all, Commander. So whatever, a bird. A bird is a word. What? Void Slime. Because we're in Simic, this is a nice little include. It's a green, blue, blue instant counter target spell activated ability or triggered ability. I love how versatile all this is. I mean, you can be countering mana rocks at the very least. You can be countering shenanigans going on with activated abilities, triggered abilities, and then, of course, a spell of any kind. I mean, this thing is great in Simic. I often include this counterspell if I'm running counterspells in Simic. All right, Distant Melody. Oh, we're in draw already. Distant Melody, choose a creature type, draw a card for each permanent you control of that type. Because we're in blue, this is a great tribal card, and we're doing Merfolk. Kindred Discovery, also another very nice draw mechanic. For some reason, it decided it would give us the list version. Let's go to Commander 17 so that it shows you the price. It's not a cheap card, but it is an effective card. As Kindred Discovery enters the battlefield, choose a creature type, Merfolk. Whenever a creature you control of the chosen type enters the battlefield or attacks, draw a card. A great card. If you're not doing Merfolk Tribal and you have other builds and you're in blue, this is a very, very effective tribal card. Mystic Tutor, yes, Mystical Tutor. It's, you know, old school. Grab a sorcery instant, put it on top of your library. All right, this one you might not be super familiar with. Sea Hunter. It is a 4-drop 2/2. You can pay 3, tap it, search your library for a Merfolk card, and put that card into play. I love that it's put it into play. That makes this so worth running in a Merfolk tribal deck. And we have Merfolk utility cards in here, so you'll be able to fetch up something that you need. Sylvan Library, yes, the jankiest of jank in terms of draw in green. At the beginning of your draw step, you may draw 2 additional cards. If you do, choose 2 cards in your hand drawn this turn. In simple terms, you can put 2 cards into your hand for life each. Great Henge. It's just great. Of course, it's got that in its name because it's the Great Henge. Okay. This thing is just incredible. It's in lots and lots of commander decks. From Throne of Eldraine, this spell costs X less to cast, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. And then you also have tap, add 2 green, you gain 2 life. And then you also get to put +1/+1 counter on a creature that hits the battlefield. Not casts, but hits the battlefield. Now, what's really nice about this, and as of this recording, this is actually still in standard and is run in multiple decks in the top tiers in terms of the meta. What's really nice is, you know, you drop a beast down there that's a 5/5, costs you 3, and then suddenly this thing costs you 4 to put on the battlefield. I mean, this is so effective, and it is incredible in Commander. You like how I use that pause for effect? Incredible. All right, before we move on, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. We appreciate you being a subscriber. Hit that alert button. Moving on. All right, let's get into some Merfolks, and there's a lot to choose from. There aren't like super hardcore Merfolk bombs like a lot of other tribal. There are some very powerful ones, but it's just all about them synergizing together and doing that janky stuff in blue and green Simic shenanigans. All right, I really like saying shenanigans, apparently. Coralhelm Commander, 2-drop, level up. Now, in case you're not familiar with level up, which you probably are, you pay 1 in this instance, put a level counter on this, level up only as a sorcery. So you can pay 1 and then multiples of 1 and then start giving it flying. And then on top of that, once it has 4+ counters, other Merfolk creatures you control get +1/+1. Very nice Merfolk soldier. Deeproot Elite for 2. Whenever another Merfolk enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on target Merfolk you control. So that could be itself or another Merfolk, which is very tasty indeed. Harbinger of the Tides. It's a 2-drop 2/2 Merfolk wizard. You may cast Harbinger of Tides as though it had flash if you pay 2 more. So you pay 4 and you can flash this thing in. Yeah. Depending on the circumstances, that might be very, very nice. Whenever Harbinger of the Tides enters the battlefield, you may return target tapped creature an opponent controls to its owner's hand. And that's what's super nice, is for 4, you can drop it on the battlefield, and an attacking creature now goes back. So if they're about to do a OTK or a combo, you can shove this thing in their face and say, no, 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 no. All right. Herald of Secret Streams, 4-drop creatures you control with 1/1 counters on them can't be blocked. This starts to come into play very nicely mid-game if you haven't had too many board clears by your opponents. Lord of Atlantis, very, very old school. I mean, this is just fantastic. Let's look at the 4th edition version. Yeah, there we go. White border it up, yo. All Merfolks gain Island Walk and get +1/+1. And what's super funny about this is that, assuming you're playing against 3 opponents, there is a real good chance at least one of them is going to be running blue. Yep. And then it's unblockable. What? Yep. Lol Mage Mentor, 3-drop 2/2 Merfolk Wizard. Whenever a spell or ability you control counters a spell, you may put a 1/1 blue Merfolk creature token onto the battlefield. Tap 7 untapped Merfolks you control, counter target spell. So this one's very interesting because we're not running a plethora of counter spells. Notice I used plethora. We're not using a ton. But the fact that it can also itself tap Merfolk to then counter a spell. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, that's why we're running it. I mean, it's a measly 3-drop. Yeah, we're running that for shizzle. For shizzle. Master of the Pearl Trident. It's 2-drop 2/2 Merfolk. Other Merfolk creatures you control get +1/+1 and also have Island Walk. So you start getting a bunch of Island Walk, you can whack-a-mole somebody pretty nicely. Merfolk Mistbinder. It's in I almost said Golgari colors. No. Simic, green-blue. Shenanigans. Other Merfolks you control get +1/+1. I think if you've made it this far in this video, you should put in the comments how many times I say shenanigans in this episode. Yeah. It's too many. I know it's that. Merfolk Sovereign, 3-drop 2/2 creature Merfolk. Other Merfolks you control get +1/+1. Yeah. Target Merfolk creatures can't be blocked this turn. So, there you go. More and more Merfolk synergies hitting the deck. Marrow Commerce, 2-drop at the end of your turn. Untap all Merfolks you control. So you could start getting some pretty serious synergies here with the tap mechanics, untap mechanics, sending creatures back to their hand, doing this, doing that. Very nice synergies going on. Marrow Harbinger, a 4-drop 2/3 Island Walker. When Marrow Harbinger comes into play, you may search your library for a Merfolk card. We like tutoring Merfolks in this deck, at least. Reveal it, then shuffle your library and put that card on top of it. Prime Speaker Zagana. It is kind of spendy, but it's very janky and fun. And when I say spendy, I don't mean financially. I mean, this thing's going to run you like $5. Prime Speaker Zagana enters the battlefield with X 1/1 counters on it where X is the greatest power among other creatures you control. So with all of these synergies and all this tribal stuff, that in theory is going to be a pretty big number, especially if you drop this mid-game, late game. When Prime Speaker Zagana enters the battlefield, draw cards equal to its power. Love that double duty of this card, which is why I've included it, even though it is a 6-drop. Rootwater Matriarch. It's a 4-drop 2/3 Merfolk. Gain control of target creature as long as that creature is enchanted. Well, might be enchanted, might not. Worst case scenario is you have a overcosted 4-drop 2/3 Merfolk. Best case scenario is you get a snake, somebody's creature that's enchanted and doesn't have Shroud or hexproof. Sea Floor Oracle, 4-drop 2/3. Whenever a Merfolk you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Yes, I love that double duty of a couple of these Merfolks. Stony Brook Banneret. It's a 2-drop Island Walker, 1/1 Merfolk spells and wizard spells you play cost 1 less to play. No brainer right there. Surge Spanner. 4-drop 2/2. Whenever a Surge Spanner becomes tapped, you may pay 2. If you do, return target permanent to its owner's hand. That's going to start really ticking off your opponents. So when you start chuckling, just make sure it's internal and not out, or else the politics of the board, they're going to go after you. They're going to go. I find when I'm winning severely during games and there's more than one opponent, I keep all of that bottled up. Don't smile too much. Get real serious. Start talking about the weather, whatever. I digress. Tatyova Benthic Druid. I am not saying that again. It's a 3 colorless green blue 3/3. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life and draw a card. Yes, drawing. Drawing is so important in Commander. Thada Adel Acquisitor. I almost totally jacked that up. Inquisitor. There we go. It's 3-drop 2/2 Island Walk. I just love how so many of these Merfolks have Island Walk. It's just fun. It's like an added bonus. Whenever Thada Adel Acquisitor deals combat damage to a player, search that player's library for an artifact card and exile it. So you get to go snake something. Maybe it's part of their combo, or you can just go grab something super powerful. Then that player shuffles his or her library until end of turn. You may play that card. So can you imagine like going and snaking like a sword, Feast and Famine, or whatever is your favorite sword, and they're running it? That would be awesome. Don't you think? Don't you think? Now, this is sort of like an alt-win situation, but really it's in here because it's also a Merfolk. So you got a nice little 1/3 2-drop as worst case scenario. Best case scenario is this thing wins you the game. Whenever Thassa's Oracle enters the battlefield, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is your devotion to blue. Put up to 1 of them on top of your library and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. If X is greater than or equal to the number of cards in your library, you win the game. So this is in a lot of competitive EDH decks with the idea of, in essence, milling yourself, dropping this onto the playfield or already having it on the playfield, and then you just insta-win. We don't have it in here for those kinds of janky mechanics. However, it's a 1/3 Merfolk, which synergizes with the deck, and then sort of an alt-win situation. If you're getting milled or you end up towards the end of things, this thing's just going to automatically win you the game, assuming it sticks on the playfield. Thrasios Triton Hero. It looks really weird because I don't know why it looks so weird. There we go. That's easier to read. Thrasios Triton Hero, 2-drop. For 4, you can scry 1, then reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped. Yes. Otherwise, draw a card. Also yes. I mean, just a great card. This thing is also a pretty powerful commander in itself. I prefer the one we're going with just because of all the fun +1/+1 shenanigans and everything. Oh, I said it again. Moving on. All right. Tishana, Voice of Thunder. You may or may not be very familiar with this one. It is great. It's Voice of Thunder's power and toughness are each equal to the number of cards in your hand. You have no max hand size, which, that's cool. We're not running stuff that's levering that. When Tishana enters the battlefield, draw a card for each creature you control. That's why that's cool. So if we have, 5 or 6 Merfolks out there, well, hey, there you go. Lovely, lovely. Getting some turn of the board state. True Name Nemesis. I believe this is getting reprinted in Timespire Remaster or something. Yeah, I think so. It's a 3-drop 3/1 Merfolk Rogue, which it'll be nice to get this price to go down just a little bit. As True Name Nemesis enters the battlefield, choose a player. True Name Nemesis has protection from the chosen player. So this is insanely powerful if you're 1v1. This is great if you're playing against 3 others because you can choose whoever is causing you specifically the most problems and have protection with this guy. Nice. Varel of the Hullclade. Yes, it's a 3-drop 1/4 legendary Merfolk. And for 2, you can double the number of each kind of counters on target artifact, creature, or land. And of course, as I said early on, one of our parts of the build is +1/+1 counters. Wanderwine Prophets is a spendy. It's because it's 6, but it's really cool. And that's because of what it does. It's a 4/4 Merfolk Wizard, and you can champion a Merfolk. What that means is when this comes into play, you sack it unless you remove another Merfolk you control from the game, which is going to be probable when this leaves play, that card returns to play. And that's really nice if there is a board wipe, then it wipes and then that one comes back. Yes. Whenever Wanderwine Prophets deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice a Merfolk. If you do, take an extra turn after this one. That is all you need to know for why this thing is in a Merfolk build. Zagana Utopian Speaker, 4-drop 4/4 Merfolk Wizard. When Zagana Utopian Speaker enters the battlefield, if you control another creature with a 1/1 counter on it, draw a card. And that's going to be likely. And then for 6, which is a little spendy, but hey, whatever. This is a mid-game, late-game guy or girl, whatever. Adapt 4. If this creature has no 1/1 counters on it, put 4 of them on it. Whoo-wee! Yeah, turn that thing into an 8/8. Yeah, I'll take it. Each creature you control with a 1/1 counter on it has trample. It just keeps going. It just keeps going. Good stuff. All right, we are in protection. Heroic intervention, because we want to keep our board as long as we can. This is one way to do it. Another way is with Veil of Summer. Draw a card if an opponent has cast a blue or black spell this turn. Spells you control can't be countered this turn. You and permanents you control gain hexproof from blue and from black until end of turn. Just spicy, spicy card. All right, we are into Tribal, ladies and gentlemen. Coat of Arms. I mean, I highly recommend putting Coat of Arms in any Tribal deck you have. I dare not say it's an auto-include, but it's a strong candidate for that 99, absolutely. This is another candidate for anything Tribal for putting in your 99 cards for your Commander deck. Door of Destinies, whenever you play a creature of your chosen type, each of those creatures gets +1/+1 for each charge counter on Door of Destinies. This just makes your board state go humongously big because you're dropping your Tribal cards, Merfolks in this instant, onto the battlefield, and this thing just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So even if you get a board wipe, the next time you drop a Merfolk on there, it's that much bigger. It's awesome. Awesome card. My buddy Josh actually turned me on to that card. He had it in his Goblin Tribal deck, which you can check out. It's Cranko at the episode above. All right, Herald's Horn, another great include for Tribal. You choose which creature type, and then you can look at the top of your library. If it's that creature, then you can reveal it and put it into your hand. So you start getting through your deck that much more efficiently. Stoneforge Masterworks. I had totally forgotten about this card in a previous episode that I was doing Tribal. I think maybe Elves or something. And a subscriber pointed out, hey, don't forget about Stoneforge Masterworks. And I'm like, yeah, of course. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each other creature you control that shares a creature type with it. Boom, shellac-a-lac, boom. Moving on. Needs no more explanation than that. Vanquisher's Banner. I really like the fact that this allows you to also draw cards. It's a 5-drop. It would have been nice for it to be a 4-drop, but it does have some extra spicy jank to it. Creatures you control that chosen type get +1/+1, and whenever you cast that creature, you also draw a card. So I'm more than happy to pay 5 to get Vanquisher's Banner onto the playfield. All right, now we got a little bit of removal in green and blue. Beast Within. It's a 3-drop, destroy target permanent. Its controller creates a 3/3 green beast creature token. And we're okay with that swap. We like that. We like that. It is the way. Cyclonic Rift. Yes, a gross card. Very strong staple in blue. For 2, you can return a permanent that's not a land to owner's hand, and for Overload 7, you do it to all your opponents, all their non-land permanents. Gross card, and I love it. Worldly Tutor. Well, what do you know? This is in the wrong category, but you know what? We're going to talk about it anyways. So this should be in draw, and it will be in the description below. You will have a link to this deck. That will be in the right spot. So Worldly Tutor, you can go fetch up a creature and put it at the top of your library. So, yeah, I'll fix that after the episode. Boom, shellac-a-lac. All right, come on, buddy. There we go. All right, now we are into Rampalicious. Arcane Signet, any color in your commander. Colors. Growing Rites of Itlimoc. It is a Gaia's Cradle. On the flip side of this, when Growing Rites of Itlimoc enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. At the beginning of your end step, if you control 4 or more creatures, transform Growing Rites of Itlimoc. So I decided running Growing Rites of Itlimoc was going to be more fun than running a Gaia's Cradle. Plus, there's probably many of you that don't have a Gaia's Cradle, so Growing Rites of Itlimoc, total side note, is a baby Gaia's Cradle, if you don't know already. All right. Hull Breacher for 3. It's a flasher. If an opponent would draw a card except the first one they draw in each of their draw steps, instead you create a treasure token. I love this. This is one of 2 of my favorite cards out of Commander Legends. This is incredible for surezies. All right, then we got Simic Signet in our colors. We got Soul Ring, of course. Then we got Simic for the talisman. And now we are into the +1/+1 counter shenanigans. Yes, I had to say it at least one more time. Branching Evolution, it's a 3-drop. I believe this is out of Jumpstart. Yes, it is. I actually cracked one of these in a previous episode. It was very tasty. I liked the fact that I cracked it. In one or more, if one or more 1/1 counters would be put on a creature you control, twice that many 1/1 counters are put on that creature instead. So it's like a super duper cheap doubling season for just the +1/+1 counters portion. Speaking of the devil, doubling season. You can do the same thing for 5, but you can also do it with tokens as well. Double up on them tokens. Hadana's Climb. This one is awesome for +1/+1 counters. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. Then, if that creature has 3 or more 1/1 counters on it, transform Hadana's Climb. And what is super nice about this is Hadana's Climb. Doobie. Where is it? La 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 la. There it is. You can add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, which is fine and dandy, whatever. But for 3, you can target creature you control, gains flying, and gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is its power. So it's got that extra nice little spice to it. On to Hardened Scales. It is a measly 1 green enchantment. If 1 or more 1/1 counters would be placed on a creature you control, that many +1 1/1 counters are placed on it instead. Excellent synergies with the +1/+1 mechanics. Speaking of which, Path of Discovery. It's a 4-drop. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it explores. Reveal the top card of your library. Put that card into your hand if it's a land. Otherwise, put a 1/1 counter on the creature, then put the card back or put it into your graveyard. So, Explore is just a very fantastic mechanic. So you can start filtering your hand, or not your hand, your library. But on top of that, you get to buff your creatures with +1/+1 counters. And on top of all of that, you can also grab a land. I mean, it's a great mechanic. Primordial Hydra. This is great for +1/+1 counters. Not truly Merfolk Tribal, of course. We have just a couple creature spells that aren't Merfolk Tribal, and this is one of them. It's Primordial Hydra. Primordial Hydra enters the battlefield with X 1/1 counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, double those. Primordial Hydra has trample as long as you have 10 or more 1/1 counters. There's a real good possibility, unless it gets whack-a-moled or spot removed, that this thing is going to be 10+ for surezies. Rolesque Apex Hybrid, 5-drop 4/5. I don't like that it's 5, but it does have some jank, especially with +1/+1 counters. Flying, trample, and when it enters the battlefield, put 2 1/1 counters on another target creature you control. When it dies, you proliferate, then proliferate again. So you get to increase those +1/+1 counters. Choose any number of permanents and or players, then give each another counter of each kind already there. Whew. Should I say that 4 times fast? Then do it again. All right, so if for some reason there's poison counters in play, or +1/+1 counters, or -1/-1 counters, you can proliferate those, and you can choose which ones you do. That is a great mechanic. I am a fan of proliferate. All right, this is a new one out of Kaldheim. It has a very strange one that's in a different language for some reason. Let's get one we can read. Vorinclex Monstrous Raider. As of this recording, this is the most financially expensive card in Kaldheim. Legendary creature, Phyrexian Praetor, Trample Haste. It's a doubling season in a body. It's a 6/6 drop. If you would put one or more counters on a permanent or player, put twice that many of each of those kinds of counters on that permanent or player instead. Oh, do you remember when cards didn't have so much frickin' text? Holy shnikes. All right, I digress. The one thing, it just seems like creatures do so much crap now. All right, if an opponent would put one or more counters on a permanent or player, they put half that many of each of those kinds of counters on that permanent or player instead, rounded down. So it's like a doubling season on steroids. So not only do you get to ramp up on your +1/+1 counters, they also don't get to. So that's pretty awesome. Last up is the land package, and we're gonna blast through this pretty quickly. As I say in almost all of our deck techs, land is the most versatile, swappable portion of your build. So by all means, swap out some of these more expensive cards for dual lands that come in tapped, or just different cards other than the more expensive ones. All right, Alchemist Refuge. This is add 1 to your mana pool, or for Simic colors, you may cast non-land cards this turn as though they had flash. That will really come in handy mid-game and late game for sure. All right, and then we have the Kaldheim version of the Pathways. This is the green-blue version. I love that card. Suppose I should explain it, not assume you know what the heck this thing is. This is a dual card in your hand that you choose one or the other when it hits the battlefield. All right, now that I've explained that, moving on. All right, we have the Simic Shockland in here. We have Cavern of Souls, since we are doing tribal, so that our tribal cards cannot be countered. Yeah, buddy. Command Tower, of course we're running Command Tower. All right, we're running 10 Force in this build, and then we have some of these nice little duels. This one comes in tapped unless you control a forest or an island, which is very likely. Then we're running 12 islands. We got the fetch land in our color, and we're also running Prismatic Vista, which is the fetch land for going and fetching up a island or a forest for us. All right, Rejuvenating Spring. I really like this one. This is where if you have 2 or more opponents, it comes in untapped. So if you tend to play 1v1, then certainly swap this out. All right, we got the original duel. It's Tropical Island. Yes, no downside to this one except for the cost. If you don't have it, don't go get one just to run this deck. Go get another dual land. Yeah, man. That's right, man. All right, Waterlock Grove. This is the pay 1 life to add green or blue. Or you could sack it for 1 and draw a card. All right, this is another pain land. Add green or blue. It deals 1 damage to you. All right, and I believe that is full circle, folks. So, Kumena, Tyrant of Orazca. We're doing tribal Merfolk. Fun stuff. If you like Simic, you will like this. If you like Merfolks, you will love this. Thanks for tuning in. By all means, put something in the comments. Thanks for being a subscriber. If you have a request for something specific, please ask. We will do our best to accommodate. All right, thanks for tuning in, MTG friends. Check you later.